Greetings, heathens, heretics. Welcome to our September review. We're running, well, we probably will be running a little bit late by the time this episode goes up, but it was a really fucking strong month, September. So we kind of picked out our top sort of 11 or 12 that we want to talk about because we couldn't really cover them all. It just wouldn't be possible. So, yeah, a real mixed bag of stuff. Death metal, return of sort of, well-known bands, a couple of new bits and pieces, some legendary death metal. We had the full works, and potentially a couple of 2023 top 10s in the mix as well. So how are we both this evening? Padre is in from the desert in darkness. What time is it?
Yeah,
yeah, you're a couple of hours ahead of us.
It's all good. Yeah.
All right, well, let's kick it off. Right, go back to the start of the month, or roughly the start of the month. So the first one is a band we'd never heard of prior to this, to be fair, death metal, band called Hanging Fortress. The album's called Suspended in Torment, self-released album as well, to be fair. And this kind of came out of nowhere, to be honest with you. How many riffs can you stuff into a death metal album, I think is the best way to look at it, because it's just fucking, even in the first song, it's just riff after riff after riff after riff. I really fucking enjoyed this. It's not going to be a album of the year type of thing, but yeah, absolute fucking banger.
I like the riffs. I can't get on board with the vocals. I'm sorry.
Well, you've got this thing about those vocals, haven't you?
It's a shame really, because I like the riffs. And I agree with you that it's just chock a block with them. But the lyrics make it so difficult sometimes for me and probably other people like me to really be motivated to go and give it that third listen or the second listen or however many listens it takes for an album like this to grow on you. So it's a bit of and that's one of the reasons why it took me so long to start listening to new stuff again. Because but yeah, it's definitely the riffs are definitely worth listening to. So it's definitely something I'll go back and listen to again. But I'm just not. I wasn't like, oh my god, this is great. I had to really dedicate, myself to listen to it.
I think what I got from it was just straight away. The riffs were just so fucking hooky. I mean, I get what you mean about vocals. I mean, that's something I struggle with death metal sometimes anyway. But I kind of got past it with this album because the riffs are just so fucking good. The opener, Scalped, is just straight into just chug, chug, chug riffs. Strewn Across the Altar is probably the standout song for me. There's a riff just after the intro, which is one of the best I've heard in months. It's a weird one. It just kind of something the death metal doesn't normally do, and it hooks me in sort of straight away, and I'm sort of quite surprised by that. And I've listened to it several times through the month and really enjoyed it every time. I haven't got bored with it, which that's normally what happens. It's got a little touch of the Sanguisuga Bogs about it in places. It's got similar kind of snare sound as well, just not quite so disgusting, I think is probably the word. But Voice of Reason, what do you think of it?
It's got the old illegible, indecipherable death metal band logo as well.
Well, that's a must. That's a must. But to be fair, it's got really cool artwork, I think. So no,
it has. I quite like it, and I will say this as well. Yeah, the riffs are good, but also what I like about it is I think the production on the guitars, the guitar sound is good as well, because it's not. I mean, if I get hit with the double whammy of like really growly vocals and quite sludgy, ill-defined guitar tones, that I can't even listen to that kind of stuff. But the guitar tone and the production on this album, the guitars are not like that. It's very crunchy.
Yeah, it's got a depth and a warmth to it. The guitar sound, to be fair.
Yes. Yeah. It's definitely, but for that, that's why for me it's worth listening to.
Voice of Reason, you want to weigh in on that? What you thought of it?
Yeah, I mean, certainly I can't disagree with the comments about it being very riffy.
Very riffy.
I mean, I like the unpredictability of it in that regard, and fair placement in for all of that. I kind of echo what Padre says here, because when you've got that sort of level of accessibility with different riffs going on, you're kind of at that crossroads with what kind of band you want to be. And I know I saw some reviews that say it's a bit thrashy, which I didn't quite get myself, but
no, I don't get
No,
that.
it's
maybe,
not.
maybe it's the level of the riff quota that made people say that, possibly. But yeah, I mean, when you're at that point where there's a lot of ways to hook people in, you know, it's got accessibility, then yeah, you got to think about your vocals, and they are very, very sort of raw cult death metal vocals for me, which probably less my thing, unless there's a certain kind of thing going on. For me though, I think, you know, I still like songs, and I still like melodies, and as much as there's a lot of riffs here, it's very minimal on that kind of stuff. So it's probably not going to be the kind of thing that pulls me in over the long term. But I kind of would like to see them go down that route, because I think they've got that potential.
Yeah, I agree. It's a raw start, I suppose, isn't it? And look, they caught a lot of people's imaginations across social media, and that, you know, a lot of people and a lot of love for this album. So it might be one of those potential situations. They hone their sound a little bit, and they could do something really cool in the future. So, you know, but yeah, look, as far as death metal goes, it's been one of the better ones I've heard this year. So I'm all for it. And I reckon it could sound great live. You know, sort of properly beefed up. The vocals might make more sense live as well with the delivery. Who knows? But yeah, look, a fucking cracker of an album. Right, straight in then. So Quell Attack, Endling. So they made a comeback this year. So it's the first album since 2020 Splid, which was the first album with the new singer. Replacing singers is never easy. Now, I love Quell Attack. The first two albums I really enjoyed, but since then I've not really paid a great deal of attention to them and not been that fussed. But straight away, this one, I love the album cover for a start. I know they love their owls, but I do particularly like this one. So I just felt like I needed to give it a listen. First single that drops, I thought was really cool. It was, if I remember right, I can't even remember what it was called because the song titles are all in Norwegian. Krotoveg til Helvet, I think is what it is, which this album's got a lot of classic rock in it, and it's got a lot of stuff like the Hives, Thin Lizzy, and things that is all mixed in with the black metal and the more extreme stuff and the punky stuff that they always do. It feels a bit more experimental, but I've listened to it God knows how many times because I know they're not necessarily that accessible. But the more I have listened to it, the more I've enjoyed it, and I think it's a fucking great album. I don't know if you two agree, but
very accessible. Yeah, like the vocals, like the tone changes as well.
Totally unpredictable. Stuff comes out of nowhere on this album.
Yeah, it's good. It's clever as well.
But
there's some real thoughts. Some real thoughts gone into the arrangement.
They open the album with, you know, that, like the previous mentioned, Krotoveg til Helvet, whatever it's called, and it's nearly 8 minutes long, and they open in the album. That's bold for a start, going down that. And the title track, I think, is a great song. I still can't quite get my head around what they're trying to do with it, but just it's something about this band that when they get it right, they get it right, like really right, like the first two albums were. When I first heard Quell Attack back in 2010, I was kind of a bit blown away by them because there wasn't anybody doing anything like it. It was fucking, completely out there. But love this one. It may even creep its way into my top 10. I like it that much. Yeah,
it's an interesting one because they're the kind of band that I should be really into at this point.
Yeah, you should be. You're up your street.
I really should be. I think I don't know. I mean, like I say, the last 15 years they've sort of been kicking about. I think it might just sort of say more about where my tastes have been in the last 15 years than the band itself. I think what's sort of become obvious by listening to this album, just because of the timing and, you know, the fact I'm sort of making the effort there, is I don't. They're accessible, but I don't think they're an immediate band. And it's because of how they put those melodies together and, you know, construct everything. And I think that's kind of my fault in the past, where I've never given them the time to go, you know, because they've got that rock and roll element, that scuzzy, garagey kind of feel. But the mix always sort of jarred with me previously, and I thought, oh, I'll come back to that, and I just never did with this band.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. I think I might have seen them live once, but I don't know. I mean, it's one of those where it all blurs into one, and I might have just been mixing up my memories. But I think I listened to Split as well again 3 years ago, but again we were all a bit distracted at that point in time, so I probably
little bit.
didn't really, yeah. But you know, this what I'm getting from this album is it's a grower, and I think that's kind of really the point of this band is
It's definitely that. Yeah,
it is a grower, but I do like what I've heard. They're very deft little melodies, very sublime, and they've got choruses which they're not big choruses, but they're they flow, they gel. Yeah, there's maybe a little bit of alternative rock sort of going in there as well. But, there's a blend of things, and as you say, those song mix sort of near dotted throughout. I think what I'll say at the moment is it's clearly a good album, but I need a lot more listens before I can really come up with a final opinion. But I want to listen to it, so
that's where I've got to. I've probably listened to it a good 15 times and
oh God, yeah,
a lot.
I just haven't. I'm nowhere near that stage. I mean, I not being a driver.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a morning commute album quite a bit.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
It's helped me really enjoy it.
I mean, this is the thing is I do a walk in the morning and the evening when I'm not running because I don't listen to music when I run. But yeah, obviously morning and the evening I'll go for a walk just locally just to keep up the legs and whatnot. So I always have an album on, but in the evenings listening time is limited if I'm sort of watching TV while I'm doing other things and reading. So I don't have as much time as you. So yeah.
Come back to it at the end of the year.
Oh no, I know it will be. It's one I want to persevere with, but gradually. I think that's the thing. I think in some ways this is an album to maybe stick on once a week, maybe.
There are bands you kind of got to work at a little bit, but I think in general, when you break through the barrier, it's worth it.
It's like there's albums on this list to be like, oh, I want to listen to that again right now. Yeah. This is not one of those kind of albums. I don't think it needs a certain kind of work and approach.
Well, we definitely had a couple of those in September. We'll get to them. Another one that had a lot of fuss this month, and I can see they're a band that kind of divide opinion a fair bit, and you can kind of understand why. I first discovered them only a couple of months ago doing this 100 death metal albums journey, and I really liked what I heard, but again, for different reasons to Gravel Attack, they're not exactly immediate. So this is Tomb Mold, Canadian death metal band, new album called The Enduring Spirit. It came out on $20 spin, and we love $20 spin because they chuck out some incredible music. They have done all year. This is definitely an acquired taste. I'll give my view on it in a minute. I'm curious to know, voice of reason, particularly from you, what you thought of this.
I'm going to have to hold my hands up and say, quite frankly, this is not for me.
That's what it's going to be. It's going to be one or the other, isn't it?
I am. I mean, I'm sure that they've got a very devoted fan base, and I'm sure if people are going to say, "Nah, you got to work at it. You got to keep at it. You got to keep at." No, I know this is not going to be my thing. It's just for me. I don't want to come along and say it's just noise because I hate that fucking phrase, and I think it's pretentious, condescending bollocks. But they're obviously doing a very specific arty thing that works for them and will work for various listeners. I know after just one listen, it's not going to work for me. It's not going to be something I want to listen to and I'm going to enjoy. So good luck to people who like it.
It's one of those. Yeah, you're either going to really like it for whatever reason, or you're just going to think, no, this doesn't do it for me. And this, like you were saying about Gravel Attack, where you should love that band. I shouldn't like this. This is not up my street at all. Not only do I struggle with death metal, I also struggle with anything progressive, as we know. And this is very much both of those things.
But you opened yourself up more to the Horrendous album.
Yes.
And I raised it initially, and then I'm thinking, you know what, maybe not. So
yeah, see, but I still haven't clicked with that. I just know there's something in there that I keep getting moments, but not enough. That I'm going to come back to, but this one actually clicked with me relatively quickly. I was quite surprised, and I can hear elements of Between the Buried and Me in their music, and certainly in the more progressive stuff. But then there's obviously straight up death metal. There's early death stuff in there, so it's a mix of those type of things. It's a bit lazy to just call them progressive death metal, I think, because I think they are a little bit more than that. What they are, I don't know. I know they've been getting grief for how they dress, which is fucking ridiculous.
Oh yeah, it's just
yeah,
I don't get that. All it takes is one idiot in the world to write something stupid on the internet, basically, and everyone just takes it too seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Which is clearly what happened. But the one track I want to talk about is the album closer, "Enduring Spirit of Calamity," and it just kind of builds and builds and builds. I mean, you think that there's loads of progressive kind of heavy songs that do that. They start off quiet, or they go up and down, and get all that. But this is about 11 minutes long, and it just builds and builds and builds, and it's just got this just sort of massive crescendo finish. It's not massively heavy, but it's epic and dramatic. And I cannot put my finger on why I like this album so much. It has walked into my top 10. It's walked into my top 10 albums, flopped its cock out, and slapped them all around the face. That's how surprised I am. I like this album. So
I don't know what to say to that, quite frankly. I'm
amazed by it because I shouldn't like it. I just shouldn't. But I really do. So there you go. It's a fucking revelation.
I mean, I can appreciate, funny enough, the quieter moments, the slightly more chilled out jazzy moments.
But this is the thing, and this is why they're an acquired taste of the thing, because you've got a lot of those quieter jazzy moments, but you've still got guttural death metal vocals over the top of it, which is going to jar an awful lot of people.
Yeah.
So...
I just flicked it on the Enduring Spirit of Calamity. I didn't listen to the album. I'm sorry. I just put the song on. 7 minutes 32. That bit when it goes really slow and quiet. You're right. That is very progressive for you. That's almost Freudian. That's like. But no, I get it. Like I'm sorry if a death metal band is writing a song that's 11 minutes 35 seconds long, and it's not boring, then that's special. Yeah. That's definitely. I will go away and listen to this. I'm really sorry. I need to just do something. Saudi Arabia has hobnobs.
How much were those hobnobs? Just out of curiosity.
That's a fine. That is a fine.
How much?
How much were the hobnobs?
I don't know. I just saw them on the shelf and put them in. They weren't that much. I'm still I'm still at that point. Like when you go to a new country and you're not sure you're still working out the currency. You're also still trying to get a grasp of the currency and how it relates to your home currency. So I'm buying like a coffee that's like 4 reals and I'm giving them a 500 note, and they're just looking at me saying, "What the fuck am I supposed to do with this?" And I'm like, "But I haven't." Yeah, it's I just like. I mean, when I went to IKEA last week and I was just putting stuff in the trolley, and it's like, how the fuck did I spend like 300 quid? No, but setting up a new house. So, but yeah, the hobnobs were good fun. They do have chocolate digestives as well. So Saudi Arabia's already scored several points over Italy.
Let me know when you can get pink wafers.
Yeah, that's the dream. Yeah. Chocolate hobnobs as well would be a dream.
I want a weekly update on snacks and biscuits and things. I think because
the big flat fancy supermarket near me is called Lulu, and I was really disappointed that I didn't see Lou Reed and James Hetfield in there when I went. I was like, they could at least play the album.
No, fucking God, no.
But, I'm sure it'll go down quite well here. But
that'd be a hangable offence in Saudi.
There's not much, to be fair. There's not a massive amount to do here other than shop or stay on the compound. But there's a Marks and Spencer's. I'm going there on Friday. I'm hoping that there's a food hall. Now there's not going to be pork pies because they're haram.
Yeah, there's definitely not going to be pork pies. No.
Yeah, I mean, but have you ever come across beef bacon? This bacon is made from beef. It's fucking shit. It's dry. It doesn't taste of anything.
Yeah, well,
anyway, sorry, go back to talking about beef.
Anyway, yeah. So let's move on. Anyway, because one legendary band drops an album in September. While we're talking about death metal, Cannibal Corpse new album, Chaos Horrific. I'm going to hand this over to the Voice of Reason because I know you actually liked this, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed it. It's not had a great deal of listening so far. And I'm straight up, this is the first Cannibal Corpse album I've listened to in full in my life. So
fucking hell.
Yeah, well,
it's understandable to be fair.
The journey's we're approaching that point in the journey where I'm going to be. I think it's the second and third albums the one to listen to from the 90s.
I can't get on with that early Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah,
stuff.
well, I'll get there, but yeah, Chaos Horrific. really solid death metal, enough dynamism to keep me interested. Accessible enough, just balanced really. Savage, heavy, riffy. I can't really, to be honest, analyze it too much, other than it's a pretty good death metal record.
Yeah, it's one of those. Isn't it? If you're a fucking death metal nut, you're gonna love it, aren't you? Because it's Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah,
that's what they do. But it's quite thrashy. I find it.
Yeah. That's the thing. I think that's where the accessibility comes in. It's not too guttural or raw or whatnot. So yeah.
I'm coming around to the idea of Cannibal Corpse. I must admit, certainly the later stuff, that early stuff, I can't go on with it. I don't know whether it's the production or what, but that doesn't really. That's not the, to quote Royal Republic, that is not the surprise thumb up the bum that you didn't know you enjoyed.
Would you say that some of like Cannibal Corpse's, like, the early stuff's not for you? Could you characterize the earlier stuff as being slightly, I think immature would be the best word to describe it. Like they've matured, so they're not as they're going less shock value.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, Cannibal Corpse can't really shock any more than they originally did. But when you think about it, 30 years ago, death metal was a lot more extreme, whereas now it's just not, is it? It's, Cannibal Corpse could play all sorts of different types of festivals, and they're going to pull a crowd. So it's just, I think we're just almost a bit more numb to extreme metal. I mean, these days,
we're being desensitized to it.
Yeah, exactly. So,
I mean, Cannibal Corpse could go down well at Glastonbury.
You know what? They probably fucking would, from an ironic point of view. Although paying £360 to see Cannibal Corpse might be a little bit strong.
That's how much tickets are now.
That's how much tickets are next year. Yeah. So there you go. But look, one shout out to the last track, "Drain You Empty," which was that's the one. There's a massive breakdown just after 3 minutes in there, and the last sort of
riff.
Yeah, that got my head nodding, definitely. But
yeah, that was like it finished like, stop.
Yeah, it was a perfect round off to the album. Yeah. I've never really seen them live properly. I caught a little bit of a Bloodstock years ago, but I think, catch them at a festival or something, I will pay a bit more attention, and Corpse Grinder's a legend anyway. So
we can't. Yeah, he's one of the good ones. We can't.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't ignore him.
No, so fair play. Cannibal Corpse still doing it, and still, just freaking, their fans clearly love what they do, so they can't really go wrong. Right, we had a couple of, in inverted commas, UK hardcore albums out in September. One from Guilt Trip and one from Grove Street. So we'll talk about Guilt Trip first. Very much in the Malevolence family. The album's called Severance. Yeah, a lot of it is classic UK hardcore, but you've got that sort of slightly accessible touch, I suppose, like Malevolence have. It's quite similar in a way. I enjoyed most of it. I like them anyway. I think they're very cool. It's up my street. Couple of tracks on Broken Wings, The Gates, just proper fucking mosh anthems. But some of the clean vocals in this don't really sit quite right with me, which I think you're going to agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, you're the UK hardcore man on this pod, so I defer to your expertise in that. I thought it was all right, certainly, and you got some good solid riffs that cross over. But yeah, I think. I'm okay with clean vocals. I don't dislike them like you do in a lot of places, but there's a time and a place.
Time and a place, yeah.
It kind of took me out of it, I think, with this, and it just kind of almost reduced the power of the album.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, I think the impact dropped off a little bit. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still a banger of an album, and UK hardcore's in a really good state at the minute. Like we said, just mentioned Grove Street, Malevolence, Rough Justice. There's some really good stuff out there, and they're breaking out a little bit, and they are doing something a little bit different. So I suppose in that sense, you kind of got to give them a bit of respect for trying it. But the best moments on this album are just the ones that are just straight up hardcore mosh pit anthems. No messing, no nonsense. That's what they do well. So I think Malevolence of their sound has got more of an affinity with the clean vocals and the melody than Guilt Trip have. Guilt Trip are a bit more straight up hardcore. Malevolence have gone a bit more metal. which allows that clean vocals and the melody. So yeah, it's lazy to compare the two considering the relationship, but it's a really good album. Really enjoyed it, but yeah, maybe he's off on the clean vocals next time. But Grove Street, The Path to Righteousness. This is a whole different kettle of fish. This one. This is this is another one that's gone in the top 10. Vinyl turned up today. What a fucking album! What a fucking album, Padre. I don't know if you've listened to this, but as a Suicidal Tendencies fan, you should like it.
I will check it out.
It's got Suicidal in droves. Some of this fucking brilliant.
Don't be put off by the album cover, because that is not what I would expect from a UK hardcore. I mean, that is very dodgy mid-80s obscure heavy metal, amateur stuff. I mean, you know, it's you know, it's for what it is. Yeah, great music, but it's just really, you're a hardcore band.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. It is a bit weird.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, I can get on board with that. It's fine.
Yeah, but yeah, they dropped this. This wasn't even like, I suppose, on radar previously, was it? I think on the thing. I think it was just like, oh, we're dropping it as today. Yeah, I mean, I've never heard of this band before. Southampton blokes.
Yeah,
but what I really like about this album again is the dynamism. Yeah. It's not a Route One hardcore album. There's a lot of, you think of what hardcore's been through the years, the different approaches, the different dynamics. It's got all of that. I mean, as you say, that second song on the album where the verse kicks in, and I mean, you know, you said Suicidal Tendencies. For me, that was, I just thought Biohazard straight away.
Yeah, same kind
absolutely. You know, but then you've got times where they rip it up and just go full throat, double pedal, proper hardcore, farce, and it you know, and it's not that. It's each track follows a slightly different template, and you know, I wasn't. My initial thoughts were it lacked a bit of punch, and I do wonder if maybe I think the next time those guitars can be tweaked a bit, because I think they're a 2-guitar band, aren't they?
Yeah, 2-guitar band.
Yeah, and I wondered if they sound like a 1-guitar band a lot of the time. It sounded a bit better on later listens, definitely, but I think that's something for next time is they could get beefier.
Yeah,
but having said that, the rest of it they've really nailed down very well, and there's a charisma to them as well.
Completely.
You know, that's what I like, and confidence. Bit of classic rock in the mix as well. So I mean, I mean, like I say, UK hardcore is not nowhere near my thing as much as yours, but I will be enjoying this.
I think they're probably closer to crossover thrash than they are hardcore, to be honest. They've always been in with the hardcore scene, play with hardcore bands, but this is definitely got more of that late 80s Suicidal Tendencies, that How Will I Laugh Tomorrow era Suicidal. Even the guitar sound, like you say, is quite similar to Suicidal's on that album. So I'm all for it. It's just fucking great. If we're going to call it a hardcore album, it's easily the hardcore album of the year. It's topped off Buggin', and it's the hardcore album of the year for me. So
well, it's fair.
Yeah, and I just love it when you get a surprise package when you don't know it's coming.
Yeah,
no, you know, I've heard of the band, I know their music, but not in any great detail. And all of a sudden, bang, this album drops, and it's just a fucking absolute rip snorter.
That's happening a lot this year, so.
Yeah, and you know, it's kind of wrong to complain, really, isn't it? So you know, look, if you're into that kind of thing, give it a listen, because it's just so good. So many breakdowns, loads of groove, plenty of attitude. It's got the full work. So yeah, give them time. It's a band I definitely want to catch live. Something that a band that we were looking forward to a debut album. So, and if you remember Christmas last year, we first started listening to this band. Yeah, it was going back that far. Those two Moonlight Sorcery EPs that we fucking loved them. And it was like, yeah, when this band do a debut album, a full length, it's going to be something quite special. So it's called Horned Lords of the Thorned Castle. Yeah, that right. Yeah, that theme carries on as well. Look, for anybody who doesn't know who Moonlight Sorcery are, they are a new black metal band. They're Finnish, so they take a very sort of over the top black metal sound and they make it Finnish, I think is the way to is the way to judge it. It's got that Finnish flair. I love this. I absolutely fucking love it. I was expecting to like it, which is always dangerous because it could suck. Expectations are really high.
Yeah.
But this is just ticked every box for me.
I mean, the first thing I'll say when I listened to this first time round, and it's a 45-minute, minute album, so that's it. Great.
Yeah.
That'll just about fit on a TDK 90 side. There you go. 44 minutes 15 seconds. That's it. That is the mark of a good album. If you can fit on one side without losing a couple of tracks at the end, that's it. Teenage Anthony is happy. And this does that. This does that perfectly. But after that first listen, my God, I was exhausted. I mean, how can I describe this album? This really does sound like a marauding bunch of Vikings stumbling across a superhero convention after party. It's it's black metal, fundamentally black metal.
Yeah.
In terms of structure, but they basically said, you know what, we're not miserable cunts.
Yeah,
we're gonna write some big, epic, glorious, triumphant riffs that go, rise high until Valhalla and whatnot, and we're all drinking and smiling, and we're covered in face paint, but fucking hell, yes, we love being alive. And it's like nothing I've ever heard before. There's no choruses here. Let's be honest. There's no. It's not that kind of album. And I think they need to basically just ebb and flow a bit more, because you do have that in black metal. And save for the penultimate track, Into the Silvery Shadows of Night, where they do just pull back a bit. It is a bit of a relentless double pedal, full on fest, and I think they just need to sort of. Yeah, just mix up a little bit more, but
it feels like they're excited to get the album out.
Oh,
doesn't it,
mate? I think they just got so many ideas coming on, for all these guitar lines and all these riffs and all these melodies, and they've blended them all together very well. It all works. Each track works. But yeah, I think it feels like, maybe whoever your producer was, you needed a little bit more quality control. But let's not. These are minor criticisms, because this is a fucking enjoyable album.
Yeah,
and I cannot see how anyone who loves metal will not like this album. I know they might say, "Oh, it's black metal. I don't do black metal. It's a bit too harsh and shrieking and all that." Just fuck it. There's so much to grab a hold of in this album and enjoy. Simple as that. I think what I'm going to be. I think initially. I think these songs are better off listening to solo rather than as an album, just because I think because of just how they are, because of how much is going on in each song. I think maybe listening to it that here and there and come back to it as an album a bit later on, because I think it's just a bit overwhelming. I think early on with the listens, but long-term listening, it is one of the albums of the year.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's just so much fucking fun, and they kind of taken black metal and they've made it flamboyant.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which it shouldn't be the case. I say they've made it Finnish, and some slightly lazy comparisons with Children of Bodom in terms of the keys and stuff like that.
It is. But
it's accurate.
It's power black metal, basically.
Yeah.
Or black power metal. I don't know, but it is a weird mash. Well, it's not even a weird mashup of the two. It works brilliantly. Yeah. But no one's ever done it before, because
I think we've got to have a shout out to the instrumental that's on the album. Just let me read the title: "Moonlight Dance of the Jester's Blood-Soaked Rituals."
Oh yeah. You got a bit of spoken word in that, I think, haven't you?
A little bit, and then the last sort of 40 seconds are just pure 80s synth.
Yeah.
And it's like, where does it all fucking come from? And you're right, they've got balls to do this kind of thing to black.
I think also the opener to Jon Silma, that sort of folky, more calm. Yeah, that works well. More of that.
Yeah, and they've clearly got that in their locker. So whatever they do in the future, they start, like you say, mixing things up. I can see 15-minute songs coming out of a band like this.
Oh God, yeah.
You know, it's
but again, it bodes well because it's like, you know, you've got that knack for melodies, so there's no reason why you can't do some good choruses and just become something.
Yeah,
but yeah, you don't have to sort of become, you know, sort of daytime rock band by any means, but you've got that potential.
yeah.
I know one of them plays in Van Sidian, doesn't he? So
yes, yeah.
Maybe that's it. He's keeping that kind of thing for them.
But they also, at the minute, they're a three-piece. Now, this is never going to work live as a three-piece, obviously. But so I don't know whether they are going to play live, whether they'll have second guitar player, keyboards, whatever. But I hope they play live.
Oh God, yeah.
And I hope that whatever they do live, you know, encapsulates the sound that they can create, however they do that, whatever it may be. But I just cannot wait to see what it looks like in the flesh. Just so much fucking fun. More fun than black metal should ever be.
Yeah.
Is the best way to look at it. Right. One that you dropped on us in the month. Again, another band that we'd never heard of, from Germany, a band called Kerrigan. When I saw the name, I assumed they'd be Irish. I'm not entirely sure why. The album's called Blood Moon on High Roller Records. Yeah, really enjoyed this one. No messing, no frills, very subtle approach to classic heavy metal, and yeah,
this is a. I mean, I think after a couple of listens, this is a very solid metal album. As you say, it's classic heavy metal. There's a little bit of everything from the 80s there, but it's not overwhelming and in your face too much. There's a restraint there, but you know, I think we've sort of seen in other releases this year. I think part of me thinks they could maybe just, you know, raise those choruses up a bit. It feels like they're sort of holding back a bit, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, I see that.
But they've like I say, their sound is good, their technique is good, and it's just an enjoyable classic metal record. But you know, it gives them a good jumping on board for going later.
Yeah, it's hard to pick out any real sort of highlight songs or highlight moments, but it's just one of those that, as you listen to it, it's a good driving album. I've definitely found that.
It's very mid-paced.
Yeah.
When they gallop, it's a bit faster, but not relentless.
Yeah, it makes me think of classic Saxon and things like that. It's just got that sort of, plod isn't the right word, but that, like you said, mid-pace. It's they're one to watch. I think if they develop a little bit more, I'm looking forward to what they. Pub metal is the way I looked at this album. without that being a bit insulting. That's kind of what I get. They're just, because it's just no frills, no nonsense. You know, I don't know. Maybe in 40 years' time there'll be another Dumpy's Rusty Nuts. We'll see.
Oh.
Evening, Davey. By the way. Anyway, next one. Couple more left to get through. Another band that released a debut this month. Kids, I think around about 18, 19 years old.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, which is terrifying. If you've heard this album, it is terrifying. They're called Disguised Malignance. The album's called Entering the Gateways. Like I said, average age of about 18. Another Finnish band. It's death metal. You know, let's not sort of beat about the bush. It is a death metal album, but it's a fucking good death metal album, and it's hooky, it's catchy, it's got great riffs, it's got incredible solos. Some of the guitar work on this album is unreal for a load of kids. But what did you think of this?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to sort of claim it's a 5-star record at this point. If you like your death metal, you may do, but I won't. But it is a pretty damn good album, and there should be laws against this kind of thing, against people of this age making albums at this level. You're making everyone else look fucking ridiculous and awful.
Yeah, completely agree. It's mad.
I'm sorry. So
AI. It's Chat GPT. It's not. They're not writing it. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's. I mean, but like I say, I mean, you all at the very least you want competency, because at least with competency you can say, right, you've nailed all this, but improve the songs, improve the riffs, extra for going forward, and we're well beyond that. You know, it's almost like they've been listening to death metal since birth, and it's part of their DNA. And it's like, well, you know, we're still.
I wouldn't be surprised if that is the case.
Yeah. Well, probably, yeah. I mean, where are they? Is it?
they're Finnish. So
I'll finish. Well, there you go. In
Yeah.
Christ. Yeah, look, it is. It's a death metal album. There's no flourishes in that regard, but it's not Route One. There's enough going on in there to keep your attention. The riffs are good. The vocals are solid. Production is just about right. Maybe we could have a bit more heft to it, but
as a debut, I think
as a debut, just
can't really go wrong with it.
Seriously, fuck off. Stop it. Just rude.
It's the future. I think going back to Bloodstock, we watched Torture Demon, who musically I think are good. They're maybe not quite there yet. And there's another band from Denmark called Knakanaka.
I'm not even going to try and say them.
Yeah,
I never get it right.
Anyway, but again, these are all like 18, 19-year-olds, 20 at a push, and it's exciting to see kids of that age making music this fucking good.
I think this is why I always. I mean, I hate when people say, "Oh, there's no good music anymore." It's always used to be good, better back in the day, and it's like, fuck off.
Yeah,
just fuck off. I mean, it's bullshit anyway. But there's
right now it's as far from the truth as you're going to get.
There's so much, and the thing is, this does actually come back to a conversation about Gen Z or whatever, Gen A or what, I don't know where we are these days, youngsters and all that.
Nonsense.
I know. You know, we always see the negative stuff on the news that pops up, but that's always been the case with young people. But we know that I think in recent years, young people have shied away from alcohol and drugs because they've got the internet, they've got all sorts of other things to keep their attention. They don't smoke as much. And so I think where the kids that latch onto music early on the internet in the last 15 years, they've been able to build up their talents, I think. And I think this is going to be a thing going forward where young people are going to be more talented at a younger age because they've had the freedom to do that and they don't have the pressure of doing fuck all with their lives that their peers might do.
Yeah. You're 100% right. You're 100% right. And it's an exciting time to be a metal fan. It's an exhausting time to be a metal fan, to be quite honest with you. But nonetheless, it's just such a fucking good time to be a metal fan. Can't deny it. Right, before we get to the last album, we'll call it the headline album for the month.
Yeah.
A couple of notable mentions that have come out because we just haven't got time to get through all of it. There's a band that was put my way earlier in the month called Task Force Toxicator. The album's called Laser Samurai. Terrible band name, terrible album name, terrible artwork. Great fun crossover thrash album. I think it's the way to look at it. I don't know if anybody else listened to it, but it was good fun.
I gave it a go. I mean, for me personally, it didn't really stand out a great deal. If anything, I'm a bit disappointed because I know you said terrible artwork, but I think if you're going to pastiche the first Star Wars poster, I want to hear a bit of sci-fi kind of stuff going on in your music. I want to, maybe a few synths and a bit of synthwave or whatever, but make do something appropriate. But I listened to that album and it's like, oh, it's fresh.
Yeah, it's
I feel like I'm.
I need to discuss Helm's Deep, Treacherous Ways.
Well, we were going to come to that because that was actually August and it's one we missed. But we do, in fact, look, let's do that now because we wanted to tack it on the end anyway because it's
right. Okay. So as a massive Tolkien fan, obviously my attention gets drawn to that immediately. Great name for an album, awesome name for a band. Some of the song titles, Medusa's Requiem. That is a brilliant name for a song. Mountains of the Scorpion, Sorcery, The Key. Fight or Flight. I like it. I think it's quite fun. And again, it's a lot of crossover. There's a bit of 80s stuff going on there with the vocal lines and stuff.
It's just a bit. It's 80s American power metal, isn't it? That's what this is.
It is.
Yeah. It's. I think it's a fun album. The album art doesn't make sense. It's good, but it just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't have to make sense.
Isn't there like a little baby demon wanking at the bottom of it or something? it's
Yeah, there is, but there's a spaceship. There's a spaceship and like what looks like scrolls and there's swords, and it's like,
But to be fair, it's like a lot of the American power metal album covers of the 80s, but just executed better.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's probably the way of looking at it. When you're pointing this out, I think it's great fun. It's again, there's no reinvention of the wheel here. It's
No.
just take the wheel and just drive it hard.
Really good guitar lines here and there. Some good little riffs. The start of it is just pure fist pumping.
Yeah.
Yes, this is going to be a great metal album kind of vibe. It's got that lead in, but yeah, it's US power metal, proper old school. It's a debut. Yeah, absolutely bloody worth a listen.
Another surprise one for the year. So loads and loads of fun. So a few other notable mentions. Primal Fear dropped a new album this month, which I really enjoyed. A band called Anima Heretique, if that's pronounced right, which was kind of black metal, I suppose, but that was really enjoyable. Code Orange we talked about last week. Has that grown on you anymore? Any more listens?
I haven't listened to it since, quite because of all the other bloody stuff I've had to listen to.
Right, that was no use. The Dying Fetus, the new Dying Fetus album, which was raved about by an awful lot of people. Unfortunately, they're not a band that I listened to them once, go, yeah, this is fucking good, and then that relentlessness of the snare drum and that just got a bit much after a while. Fast bit breakdown. Pain the Truth, New York hardcore band, dropped their debut album. That was really good, and a romantic goth project type thing called Lord of Shadows came out right at the beginning of the month. That's an album I really enjoyed as well. So it's just been an absolutely mental month. But the one we want to talk about the most, which is definitely a potential right up there in the top 2 or 3, the new Nervosa album, Jailbreak, on Napalm Records, came out on the 29th of September. What a fucking album. And we had it for a few weeks before release, and I'd never really listened to it. And about 3 days before it came out, I thought, I need to give this a go. Fuck me. It twatted me right in the face.
Yeah, well, that's
so
one way to say. I mean, again, not a band I've managed to sort of really get around to previously. And I know they've pretty much sort of changed their entire band since the last album. I think their guitarist, who didn't do vocals before, is now doing the vocals, and they've got 3 new members. So it is essentially a new band. And of course, you've got that link up with Crypto as well, and also Code as well. So there's a bit of a triumvirate there going. They're all releasing albums this year, and we've already had 2 of them are good. But I mean, you know what? It's just a fucking great metal album. You got they're regarded as a thrash band, okay, fair enough, but you got thrash, you got classic heavy, you got death, you got you got everything in the mix. But there's even a bit
of Swedish in them as well.
There's some mellow death there, absolutely. But it's the production, it's a savage, rawish but heavy, well produced sound. It's big. The vocals, I mean, if that's the first time her doing the vocals on an album, then fair play to her, because they are bang on for what they're doing.
They're vicious, I think, is the vocal delivery, and real snarl.
And I mean, we have to talk about some of the songs. I mean, with the title track, there's a bit of a Painkiller vibe to it. Classic old school British heavy metal, harmonized guitars. This album is absolutely lousy with them. It's ridiculous. There's singles. I think there's about 4 singles already released in various regards. A Seed of Death, as well as being a classic Doctor Who story, it's now going to be one of my favourite songs of the year.
That's the one I was going to talk about. That beautiful blend of pounding heavy metal with harmony guitars. It's just they absolutely nail it.
A slow, epic start and just kicking into that sort of the black metal tremolo picking, just done in a sort of accessible way. Elements of Sin, just another great single, but very much more of a death metal vein, I think. When the Truth is a Lie. Look, it's interesting because there's 13 songs on it and it's 46 minutes. I think no song is over 5 minutes exactly. I think they're all 4.5 is like the longest song.
The longest, yeah.
And I don't know, part of me thinks, you know what? Maybe there's a couple of tracks here that, as much as good as they all are, you could have maybe got rid of 2 or 3 and maybe done a 7 or 8 minute track. I think you could have pushed yourselves here. I think you've got that capability. And I think a great metal album has that. has that sort of longer one
Yeah.
going on, so I'm a bit more involved, and I think I'd like to see that next time. But yeah, like I say, 13 songs, all of decent length, and they all just slay.
Yeah, that's exactly the way to put it.
It's
Yeah.
just, and in some ways, like a lot of what we have, it's no nonsense metal, but
Yeah.
the songs are great and everything, and the execution is great. And I mean, like I say, they're playing Bloodstock next year. I'm pissed off now because they play the Underworld, did a small UK tour just around the time I was having to move house. So that week was just nuts for me. Even if I had a ticket, I couldn't have gone to see them.
It will come. So I think the album's been quite well received in the UK, and obviously if they're going to do Bloodstock next year, they're on the main stage as well, which is great to see about a band like that. It's one of those sets that you think that needs to be triumphant. They need to come and just fucking lay it down.
Yeah,
and I've got a feeling they will. If they can transfer how this album sounds onto a stage, they'll be fucking they'll just sound huge. They're one of the sets I'm really looking forward to now for next year, because this album, and alongside Moonlight Sorcery, are the two albums of the month for me. And like I said, this Tomb Mold as well. They've all gone into my top 10. They've just fucked my top 10 completely.
Yeah, I've got enough now for a good top 30, but fuck knows on the order.
Yeah, it's just there's one other track I wanted to mention called Behind the Wall. About 2 minutes in, there's just this massive breakdown which goes straight into a huge fucking solo, and some of it you don't see coming. You just think, oh, it's thrash, and then just, like I say, a bit of harmony comes in, a melody or some huge chorus, whatever it may be. They remind me of Arch Enemy when they were at their best.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
without wanting to make the lazy comparisons, but
no, they've
got a similar kind of punch.
Yeah, absolutely. That's been my thought all along. That's probably why it appeals to me.
Yeah. It's just a fucking great album, and again, just a surprise.
Yeah.
Which I think is the story of this month. There's so much that have been surprised to enjoy that much that, it's the best kind.
Did you get a chance to listen to it, Padre?
Yeah, I agree with what you guys have been saying. So I need to go back and listen to it more closely. I've had trouble with the internet this week and last week, so
this is definitely one for you to revisit, because it's up your street. So look, that was September. It was a great month. Fucking every month has been a great month. Like Andy said, you can comfortably have a top 30 albums of the year at the moment. So it's all good. That we'll be back at some point in the next week or so. As we're recording this midweek, Friday night, we're at Municipal Waste in Bristol. So we might be a little bit all over the place for the next few days, but we'll work it out. Fuck knows what, but that's gonna be a fucking rager. I'm gonna leave you with a quote from our good friend, Bass Motherfucker Lee from The Grudge. Referring to Moonlight Sorcery, his words were, "Crivens, it's like Manowar, Satyricon, and Carpenter Brute all went home with the wrong shoes on." On that note, stay metal. We're back soon.